Changes in administration. Post-Mauryan period. Features. The Shaka, Kushana, and Satvahana rulers defeated Indian kingdoms but allowed them to remain as subordinate rulers, creating a situation of a state within a state. This led to certain consequences. First, one of the consequences was the adoption of different royal titles by the great rulers to distinguish themselves from the subordinate rulers. The impressive titles assumed by Kushan rulers, such as Maheshwara, Sarvalokeshwara, and Shahanushahi, indicating the presence of numerous minor kings under their authority who prevailed military services to them. Second, this system resulted in the emergence of many autonomous units under the state, which later formed the basis of feudal system. Third, this type of victory was termed as Dharma Vijay in the Kautilya Arthashastra. Moving forward, to counter the decentralization tendencies during the post Mauryan period, a tendency to incorporate divine elements into the monarchy emerged. The kings began to be compared to gods. For instance, the Satvahana rulers compared themselves to gods, while the Kushana adopted the title like Devputra, that is, the son of God. Additionally, Kushan rulers had their idols placed in temples, such as the one built at a location called Mat in Mathura. The Satvahana rulers introduced land grants in the 1st century CE, but these grants were primarily religious grants bestowed upon Brahmins or Buddhist monks. The grants conferred only the right of revenue, not the right of administration. Several factors motivated the implementation of land grants during this period. One motivation was the opportunity to promote agricultural expansion in remote areas through these grants. This was made possible because a portion of the land grant was previously uninhabited. Additionally, the kings sought to enhance their power and influence through land grants. This allowed for the spread of Aryan culture into tribal regions as well. Moving forward to the next age, Gupta age. The Gupta administration serves as a transitional phase bridging the gap between Mauryan administration and the early medieval administration. During this period, the king's title expanded, but his actual power diminished due to the presence of intermediaries and middlemen. The state sought to limit its responsibilities through land grants, and the participation of local elements in the Gupta administration increased. Key features. The king held the highest position in the administration. The king assumed the king assumed grand titles such as Param Bhattarka and Maharaja Dhiraja, which did not signify an increase in the king's power but rather indicated the presence of subordinate rulers and feudatories. Divine kingship gained prominence, with kings comparing themselves to gods. In the Prayag Prashasti, Samudragupta linked himself to important deities like Indra, Varuna, Antaka, that is Yam, and Dhanda, that is Kuber. Several significant officials were mentioned in the central administration, including Kumara Matya, who were highest officials, Sandhi Vigrahaka, who was foreign minister, Dandanayaka and Mahadandanayaka, who were judiciary, Baladhikrit and Mahabaladhikrit, who were military officer, Vinayasthi Sthapak, that is religious affairs officer, and Pratihara and Mahapratihara, who were the palace guards officer, head of palace guards, etc. During this period, offices became hereditary and an official could hold multiple positions simultaneously. For instance, Harisain held the post of Mahadandanayaka, Sandhi Vigrahaka, and Kumarya Matya simultaneously. The empire was divided into provinces known as Bhukti. An official called Uparika or Uparika Maharaja was appointed to govern the province. The term Maharaja was associated with Uparika in inscriptions, suggesting that provincial authority enjoyed more autonomy compared to earlier periods. Provinces were further divided into districts or Vishaya. The district administration appointed an officer named Vishayapati or Kumara Matya. In most cases, the district officer was chosen by the Uparika or Uparika Maharaja. At the lower level, the administrative units consisted of a group of villages called Vithi or Petha. The officer in charge of these units were known as the Vithi Mahamatya. The lowest unit of administration was the Grama, which was under the control of the Mahattar. An important characteristic of the Gupta administration was the involvement of regional elements in local governance. At the district level, there existed a district council known as Vishaya Adhikarana or Vishaya Parishad. At the Vithi level, there was the Vithi Parishad, and in the cities, there were Nagar Parishads and Adhishthana Adhikaranas. The following individuals were mentioned as member of these institutions: Nagar Shreshti, that is Chief Financial Officer; Sarsthawaha, that is Chief Merchant; Pratham Kulika, Chief Craftsman; and Pratham Kyastha, chief clerk. Similarly, at the Vithi level, there were Kutumbin, peasant, and Mahattar, that is village headman, mentioned. Moving forward to the next age, post Gupta age, the practice of elevating kingship to a divine status persisted in this era, with rulers adopting grand and prestigious titles. In this period, government officials started receiving their salaries in the form of land grants due to a scarcity of currency caused by declining trade. For instance, during Harsha's reign, ministers and officials were remunerated with land grants instead of cash. Feudalization of the bureaucracy occurred during this time, as even feudal officers were appointed to important administrative positions. Next, moving forward to early medieval period, the concept of divine kingship continued to prevail. The kings continued to use impressive titles. Certain feudal lords assumed the positions of officials, while officials themselves began adopting feudal titles. Temples and mathas received extensive land grants during this period. The number of military grants also increased, with rulers like the Palas, Pratiharas, and Rajputs granting land to numerous feudatories who in turn provided military services. Thus, all the characteristics of Indian feudalism emerged in the early medieval period. The Cholas introduced local self government in South India during this era. This system involved participation of local elements in the administration. This can be seen in the Uttar Mirror inscription, where institutions such as Nattar were established at the Nadu level, while Ur and Sabha were formed at the village level.